The thing is, in the military, I couldn't go to work and say, you know what, I'm going to work harder and make more money. I couldn't do that. The only way I had to give myself a raise was to work less and get paid the same. Which I took full advantage of. Okay? Now, so the problem is, if you're in something where you don't have any control, a lot of times there's no professional development because it doesn't matter what you do, you can't change it, agree? Now, this is going to sound funny, also a little bit rough maybe. How can I use, what's a better word to use than rich? Well, okay. Did anybody here at any point in your life ever want to be wealthy? 7. This is like the worst crowd to talk to. You know? Ooh, let's get rich. 7. But who here, and see, you know what's funny? Some of you are actually, I don't know, put my hand and sound greedy, right? Like, it's not like being rich is bad, you know? But how many people here thought about that? Now here's the thing. This is the #1 key rule. Steve knows he wants to be rich so bad. Ask me again, man. Ask me again. So what? Here's just a little slight thing. This is like some free advice. You're doing that to pay anything, and here's some free advice on your path to wealth. The first thing, if you want to get rich, you have to do is actually be doing something that you can get rich at. Okay, so no offense to my military buddies, right? Like, I realized that one day. I'm like, no diver has ever made it rich. Maybe I could be the first. You know what I mean, right? Like, you know, and I'm not trying to be smart alecky about it, but that's why I went out and did something else. Is that I was already doing something to pay the bills. I wanted to do something that I could change my life with. Does that make sense? And you know what? This might be getting a bit too deep, but very quickly we changed our life in the finances area. And now all of a sudden I said, I really like that changing life thing. I wonder if I can do it in the other areas. And you can't. Information applies equally across all areas. And so that's the personal development. It's a 400. Now I'm going to come back to that number. $400 billion industry. Now for Canadians, billion's still awesome. For Americans, they are like that's like their debt per person or something. You know what I mean? So, oh man, I'm going down to the Americans this weekend. I always put the digs in, right? You know what I mean? Like, because for so many years their dollar was worth more, they paid less tax and all this stuff, and now they're just like, bam! You know? Did anybody see a blog post where I kind of dug it to them? Yeah. We can learn from the Americans. So, anyways, professional development, $400 million industry, and you know what? Here's the best way I can explain it, and I'm going to tell a story quick, but I remember years ago, I drove down to the valley, and I sat down with this guy. He had literally half a mobile home. You know, there was plastic all over one end, and I went in, and he had no shirt on, and his he getting hot? He's a lizard, okay? He can't regulate his own temperature, okay? So, that's serious. I'm not even joking. I'm trying to be funny now. So I drive down the valley. I get in there. This kid's got his hat on backwards, no shirt. I sit down, and I'm like one of these guys. I make money helping people, so I'm like positive. I'll talk to anybody. I sit there and say, man, we can do it together. It'd be great. You can learn stuff about it. Talk about business, tax breaks, talk about it all. And at the end, I'm like, here's this book on how to be successful. It talks about overcoming obstacles. It talks about making excuses and talks about time management. And man, you could really, read this book and it'll be awesome for you. He says, oh, no, I don't read. No, I don't want to read or something. I'm like, oh, I know. And so I go into I have this why you should read speech, and I'm like, man, imagine if some guy like Sam Walton or J. Paul, some successful guy, goes 80 years of his life and puts everything he knows in the 200 pages, and in 4 hours you can read that and get all that wealth of information, change your life. Wait, I got a really good 7-minute speech on this, right? Tell me you don't read that, bam, I'll nail you, okay? And so he goes, So he does it. So now I'm driving up. I'm kind of like, oh, I drove all the way down here. I get up here to Burnside. I'm going to see this guy. He owns a big trucking company. And I was kind of intimidated, you know. And you know, I drive into the driveway, and he has this RV, which that was my goal back then. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, maybe, you know, I can have that. And then I see this truck that's all chromed open. I'm like, oh man, so then I'm sitting down behind this big desk. That's why I got this big desk in my office, because I wanted to do to people what he does to me, you know. And so Bill just doesn't ever sit; he just walks around it. So I sit down and I start showing him, man, we can do it. You know, I'm doing the whole thing. And at the end, I'm like, here's a book on how you can be successful and get an RV and a cool truck. And I'm waiting for him to just, you know, and he snatches it up. He says, man, he says, do you have 19 more of these books? And I'm like, I'm stunned, right? I'm looking for the candid camera, right? He says, well, he says, you know, I just sent all my drivers on the How to Win Friends and Influence course. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, they're drivers, they're alone, you know what I mean? And he said to me, I'm just doing this to put other people at ease, Bill. Holy smokes. So he goes up. So he says, yeah, I just sent these guys on this How to Win Friends and Influence course, and they're not doing it. Really, next month he's not going to get his money back. It's over time. You know, he says we win contracts, and sometimes we're not the lowest bidder, but we win them because people want. Are you guys screwing with me? Is this like getting me back for a prank? One time I shot Bill with paintball. You see what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't an instant gratification from him investing this money. It came out over years, made his company stronger, better, right? And so that self-help industry, that's where we're very excited about it. And